Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Two Doctors and a Twist. And I have my sidekick with me today,
Hey
Dr.
everyone.
Jamie. Oh my gosh. We are so happy to have you back. She's been working on a major project and just had to focus on that a little bit more. So we didn't have the opportunity, but it gave us an opportunity we didn't have an opportunity to have her on the show at for the last quarter, but it gave us an opportunity to get something else out that I needed to get out. And so, as women, we divide and we conquer. So we know how to get this thing done. Anyway, today we have a special guest with us. Jamie, do you want to say anything before we get started?
No, I'm just so excited to be back. I know I took a little bit of time off to work on a project, and I'm ready for us to start diving into doing what we do and sharing with our audience. And I'm excited about this interview. You're ready to get started and introduce our guest.
All right, all right. So today we have with us a very special young lady. Her name is I'm moving the cart before the wheel. She is working on her EDD, but we
Yeah.
have with us today. We're connecting with her. She's a very special lady. I've known her for quite some time. And today we're going to talk about stories. So, welcome again to Two Doctors and a Twist with Dr. Jamie Chesler and myself, Dr. Marilyn Carroll. The stories we tell each other. Let's talk about that. The stories we tell, the stories we live, the stories that shape who we become. Our guest, again, is Dr. or soon to be Dr. Andi Miller. She's an educator, a storyteller, narrator, entrepreneur, and a lifelong learner who is completing that degree. She's all but done her dissertation and while helping others learn and grow. Like I said, had the opportunity. I've known her for, I think, about 13 years.
At least,
And
yeah.
yeah. And just had the experience to see how she does some wonderful things with people and learning. So thank you all for being open to us today. I got to get started because I am so nervous about this because I want to
Shake it
hear
off.
everything Andi has to say. Andi, take it away.
Well, first of all, anytime someone slips and calls me doctor, I just eat it up because, like, I get the preview of what it's going to be like when I'm finished. And I tell people, and I'm at least joking a little bit, but not much, that I'm doing an EDD so that my son will have to call me Dr. Mom. He's
That's a good
16
one.
and he hates that idea. So I run with that all the time.
Oh,
But
I
wow.
call
All
me
right.
Doc. Doc.
exactly, exactly. So I've been in higher ed for 23 years. For those listening, I have earned my gray hair in this field. I started out right out of college, had a great opportunity from one of my mentors to join adjunct faculty at a college local to me, and I was hooked. I knew I would be. I just absolutely love working with adult learners who are obviously juggling a ton of responsibility, but who are so motivated to persevere and to really reach their goals. And that's kind of everything I've wanted to do in my career is to be useful and to be a servant, to be someone who serves others and helps them get where they want to be. And so I think that is a big through line for me throughout these 23 years.
Oh, wow. That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
That is wonderful to know for our audience to get to know who Andi is. And so, as we move through, Jamie, what are your thoughts? Anything
Well,
that you
I resonated with Andy's response there because the same thing, working in the corporate world, I took an adjunct position for the first time, will be 19 years ago, and I fell in love with it so much so that just like you, Andy, I pursued my doctorate degree because hoping for more opportunities in the educational field, uh, and and I fell in love with it. It is still, after all that time, still a deep passion. of mine. I absolutely love it. So I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today and learn more about you. But when you think about your life journey as you get to this point here, when we're still going through our life journey, right? We
Yes.
are continually on that path of learning and exploring and enjoying life. But what are some of the chapters that kind of stand out most to you?
Oh gosh. So just thinking about career, I've been in higher ed for 23 years, but I've always been a teacher and a communications person. And there were times that I veered, I don't want to say off the path of higher education because I've always been teaching, even when I was doing something else. So I've been a program chair for general education where I supported faculty. I've been a PR director where I shaped communication for a university and I worked with their social media. I've been an interactive media director for a company that crossed over 8 brands from real estate to feature films. So I've always been into storytelling for sure. I've always been into effective communication. And alongside that, any way that I can, build a platform or an experience that helps people be reached somehow or to not fall through the cracks to be seen. I want to do that, and so that's been some of the chapters leading up to now, and I think this is kind of a magical age where I'm seeing all the threads come together because I never probably thought they would come together at the time, but they do, and it's kind of a magical moment for me. So yay to
Yeah.
age.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So even before you became an educator, do you think there was something like you started a business? What experience helped to shape you into, hey, this educator thing is working? Why? Why?
I just think school's all I'm good at. School's all I'm good at. I knew from the time I was in high school, just because I had such amazing, transformative teachers who cared about me. I was very fortunate. Um, I've always known that I wanted to be useful. I wanted to serve. I wanted to be a teacher. And it's funny because whenever I go off that track, somehow I'm not quite satisfied. And so, like I started my college career in graphic design and art because I thought, oh, that's a creative thing that will actually make me some money. And so I interned in a Fortune 500 company as a very young person still in college, and didn't like it. I was like,
Okay. So
nobody
you,
needs my help,
mm,
understanding this big company's need for their money. Like that just wasn't scratching the itch, and so yeah, into education and into social media and all of those things just give me an opportunity to be very human with people and be very authentic and transparent. And that's my default mode.
okay.
You mentioned it wasn't your thing being in that corporate environment, and I felt the same way. I worked in many corporate offices, and I felt the same way. But you were in marketing, and marketing is huge with storytelling. You have to be able to connect with different target audiences. You have to be able to adapt your communication, and you have to be able to engage and tell a story. When did you first realize that storytelling was like something you loved to do?
That particular position was at the forefront before social media was a thing. And so it was more like the department was e-commerce, right? And so that's a different
Mm,
approach.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so I've always been an early adopter and a very social person online, whereas I am a very introverted person in life.
Oh, okay.
that's
And so
interesting.
I know everybody, my students always are like, you're lying. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, I'm not. But I was a very early adopter of social media, and I had a book blog for like 14 years that was fairly successful. Ran some online book events, built community in that space. Got to work with Reading Rainbow one time. That was a dream come true. But I think that's where I really dug into storytelling, and I found social media an opportunity to tell the story that I wanted to tell, selfishly, you know. I didn't want to tell someone else's story, honestly.
Wow. Wow. So, speaking of building your own path, uh, you built something on your own, and tell us about your new company, new product.
So I have developed a framework called the Invisible Org Chart. And it is essentially what it sounds like, that every organization, no matter what industry, has the visible org chart. And then there's the actual underlying org chart. The underlying org chart is more about how knowledge flows through an organization, how expertise, institutional memory, all those things function under the surface of an organization. And, too often, especially these days, I mean, restructuring is not uncommon anywhere. And I feel like my framework could empower employees, not necessarily their institutions or their organizations, but empower them to uncover what their actual expertise and knowledge are beyond the obvious, and to hopefully be able to feel more comfortable advocating for themselves and making a change within their industry if that's what they want to do. But yeah, it's a deep framework at this point. I'm just kind of rolling it out piece by piece. So
Wow.
Sounds very exciting because it's like you're talking about an organization's institutional knowledge. You're talking about an organization's ecosystem that's behind the scenes from what we can see on those actual organizational charts, how things actually happen, the
yeah.
connections that are made, the history behind all the decisions that are made. So that's just amazing, and I'm excited to learn more about that infrastructure you're talking about. So,
And
what inspired you to start it?
oh, just life, life experience. I've been in, a couple of different industries. I've been in that corporate environment. I've been in higher ed, PR, all the things. And it's an ongoing problem that, restructuring or layoffs are not just restructuring or layoffs. If an organization is just looking at names and salary bands, they can really let go some people who are what I call Keystone employees. And you hit on it, Jamie, when you said ecosystem, because when I use the term Keystone employee, I'm drawing from ecosystems in nature, right? Um,
Mhm.
the keystone species in an ecosystem is not the most visible. It's not the coolest, the biggest, the apex predator, right? It's the small, maybe unnoticed species that when you remove it, everything else has to rearrange around its absence. So, like, if you take out the bees, there's no food and everything's going to die. So,
Mhm.
I think of my Keystone employees that way. It's the person that quote unquote knows everything, the person that you go to ask questions, who remembers why we use a system, why we don't use this other system, when we tried it 6 years ago and it was a disaster area. Those are the Keystone employees. And they're
Wow.
so important, but they're not necessarily visible to the organization.
Well, you know what? You hit on something, and um, this week I met with some others who are considering investing in my company. And the one thing they asked me to solve was when an AI failure happens. They needed to know the backstory of that. They read the book that I wrote, and then they came back with, okay, Marilyn, we read the book, but the one thing that's pressing right now, we have clients that have failed their AI initiative. And what happens with them when they need to go back and restart? And my mind went back to compliance, SOX, and all of that, and how you build that. So I have to go in and build a companion to go with that,
Yep.
to say, how do you get back from failure back to your footing so that your company can continue to operate? So I like that. Um, and then they also mentioned something else, which you're saying your ecosystem, those employees. And we kind of relate that to having career currency helping
Yes.
people to understand that they have career currency and what does that mean for them. Because organizations, when they go through these restructures and things of that nature, it is not necessarily to put anybody down. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't,
Yeah.
because we have levels in organizations. And this is the challenge with having hierarchical organizations. A lot of times we miss out on the talent we have because it's the quiet talent that don't necessarily speak up or
Right.
say anything. They're kind of in the back corner.
Head
But
down doing the work.
mhm. But at the same time, they have to find ways. We can't rely on other people. We have to find ways
Yeah.
as individuals to help ourselves to be able to know who we are and what we're doing.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
think I've found that for myself really from using AI as a thought partner.
Hmm.
It's easy to use AI as an assistant, reword this thing and make me sound better, or
Yes.
help me have some more tact here. Uh, but, I've discovered that I'm a dialogic thinker, so I have to talk through things. And so I've
Hmm.
named my AI Chad. And Chad and I would talk a lot about things. And we talk about career and we talk about the things that I'm seeing and the things that I'm kind of narrowing down. And it just really kind of helps. I've even asked Chad, I'm like, ask me questions so that I can figure out what I know, you know, because,
Yes.
we go through our daily work and we know things because we've had experience, because we've had interactions, because we have relationships, but we don't think about them because they're so natural and muscle memory in the moment. So part of Invisible Org Chart is really empowering people to find out what they know, what their knowledge is, so that they can use that as a transferable skill.
That
I
is
love that.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that.
I know, Marilyn, you talk a lot about, when organizations go through transitions and make the decisions that they do, that a lot of times when they're doing that, they're not thinking about the structure. Is that it?
Hmm.
The strategic
Hmm.
processes that you have
Yeah.
another term for it, and it just evades me at this moment. But you talk about a lot of structural systems and things in place that
Oh,
sometimes
yes.
are lacking.
You have to thank you, Jenny, because one of the things that, not that this is about me, but authority system, because there's a process you have to go through to understand where everybody's at and what it means. It's like when you come into an organization, you can kind of pinpoint if you're trying to fix what's broken, you have to know who the players are. And sometimes consulting companies get this right, but many times they get it wrong. And this is what happens. A lot of, especially in the major organizations, a consultant would have been in there doing the due diligence, so they say, working through, and then they tell the higher ups in that organization that here are some of the talent that you can get rid of, but they really haven't inventoried the talent to understand what you may go lacking if you don't keep or get that information that or that individual has. Uh, History of a company is so important, just like history, our history. It is so important that we understand it so that we know how to move forward. And I like that you have this down, but this ecosystem, and you're absolutely right, it's systems. We all work in systems every day. Some people may think it's different. It's just an organization. We work in a system. Every organization has a system it goes by, and you must understand that system in order to know which way is the best way to move, but also to be open to or transparent to your team so they understand what you're doing.
And then it's difficult to navigate those systems when new leadership or new changes or restructuring occurs, because the system that you were able to navigate well through all of a sudden changes and no one is sharing necessarily what that's happened. And so you're going, okay, wait a minute, where do I go from here? Who do I reach out to? All the things. So you still have, it's a difficult process if it's not documented well,
Yes.
and the reason of why and how and all the things. I love
Yeah.
that, all the things.
Yeah. My ADD has really brought systems thinking to the forefront for me. And I think, one of the detriments of most organizations is that they're not systems thinkers,
Yes.
and they don't ask enough questions, honestly. They don't plumb the depths of their knowledge network to see what will the real outcome of this restructure, this change be. They just don't understand.
Well,
Yes.
and this is off the path a little bit, but I think our conversation is important. But
Mm-hmm.
Andi, people that have that long history, institutional knowledge about how things were done and why they were done this way and what worked and what didn't and all the things. And if they're quiet, it's hard to let others know their value. So making the effort, even if the individual doesn't come forward and share information that could be helpful, bringing that person and maybe talking with them or promoting them that, hey, so and so, Susan knows about this. Maybe we should reach out to her or Larry or somebody and connect with them so that it's brought to those new people who are making the decisions now. It's helpful for them to understand kind of where all this is coming from instead of trying to recreate new systems when there are some systems that could probably be still effective, but just maybe modified somewhat. What are your thoughts about that? I'm sorry, Marilyn, I'm making some changes there.
No, no, no. That's okay. That's okay.
Oh gosh, so much comes to mind in what you're saying, Dr. Jamie. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is that when organizations do try to uncover their Keystone employees, right? They try to figure out who they are. Alarm bells go off for those Keystone employees, especially in an economic environment like the one we're dealing with now, where they just may think, oh, they want to capture what I know in order to keep it and then get rid of me, right? They want
Mm-hmm.
to get a copy of my brain and then let me loose. And so that's why I feel like Invisible Org Chart really focuses on employee owned knowledge, because when you work from the top down, you're going to scare your Keystone employees into silence, basically. Those Keystone employees carry a great deal of load, and that load is not just the volume of their tasks, but it's all the network that they've created, right? Like I lean on this idea of a beautifully designed college campus. You've got all these beautiful, concrete walkways and fountains and, whatever they've put in place. And then you've got these little grass trails that run off, like, because the students are not going to follow the established path. They're going to cut across to the cafeteria and they're going to make their little grass path. And these are all of the kind of invisible network that we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Employees
Mm-hmm.
make their own knowledge paths. They're not going to necessarily follow those established procedures or processes. They're going to make their own in their everyday. And so uncovering that is a very tricky proposition without scaring them into silence.
Well, I hear what you're saying. Um, that inventory of skills or what's required or what you know or don't know, that is something that needs to be established. But I do think that that is also, when we don't know that, that's the product of maybe the leadership that was there that was so
Yeah.
focused on other things when they needed to understand their talent.
Yeah.
I am, when I go into an organization, but I have that passion for this.
Right.
So at every organization, I'm going to know. I inevitably, if I'm not even friends with someone, like I've known you for 13 years, we're not like close buddies or and all
Right.
of that, but I know what you bring to the table.
Right.
I knew what Jamie brought to the table or brings to the table continuously. I know what a lot of people bring to the table because I watch how they do things.
Yeah.
I watch the systems that they work through. At the same time of knowing that those things, I also see their challenges,
Mhm.
the challenges they may have because they have a limited view of things.
Right.
And right now in organizations, we need people like you or Jamie or others that have dealt in 15 different I've been down 15 different paths to understand where this organization, how you can help this organization grow or that organization grow. And sometimes the helping other people to understand, okay, this is the path you're continuing on, that Keystone employee that you're talking about. This is the path you continue on because it's the best for you, maybe getting them to see that. And they can continue on and be happier in the next location they go to.
Yeah.
I've been through 3 restructures in my career where I had to let people know this is it. We're going to be moving on. I've even been let go at my last company. Um, and it was okay with me.
Yeah.
It was painful, but
Yeah.
it was okay. And I saw it coming. I was involved with it. I saw it coming because I had my eyes wide open, not shut.
Yep.
This is going to happen. So I might either have to go in and jump on something else at this company, or in my case, it was go into sales and manage that, or you're going to go and do something else. And at the time, I happened to be an adjunct professor. So I decided I'm going to go over here. I'm loving teaching. It's less stressful for me right now. Sales, it's probably going to be more stressful. Little did I know that I was going to continue doing sales because I have to sell to students every day or sell
Heck
to my
yeah.
clients every day.
Yes.
So you have to know things for yourself. And
Mhm.
some type of way, I hope that with the work that you're doing, builds on helping people understand who they are and what they bring to the table, and not that you're a business within yourself.
Mhm.
And what you're giving out to this business is they're a client of yours. I don't care if you do work full time for them, they're just a client.
Yes.
And when that client is gone, you have to have other clients lined up that you can do business with.
Yeah.
Would you say that's correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think in general, people give themselves enough credit for what they know and what they can do, what their transferable skills are. I tell students all the time, I'm like, the best thing you can do to be successful in any context, whether it's school, whether it's work, is to know your strengths, know your challenges, and know how you react to things, right?
Yeah.
I know this about myself. I'm good at a lot of things. I'm really good at supporting other people, really good at making connections, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not letting people fall through the cracks, things like that. Very human, very empathetic, all of those things that AI can't do for us. Uh,
Which
and
makes you a valuable asset.
exactly. And I don't think people realize how valuable they are. And, we've leaned on these instruments like personality tests and things like that, Myers-Briggs in the workplace. And that is not without value, but that's not the whole story. I know about
Exactly.
myself that at the end of the day, I am always going to default to honesty and transparency and empathy, maybe to my detriment, but I have to be okay with that and whatever comes out of
Yes.
it.
Yeah. But I also think we have to be able to help people. And I learned this, Jamie is a coach as well, from coaching, that we can only help people that say, I want to be helped.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to understand. I think in the world of education, the more as teachers, we utilize some of those skill sets in helping the students to understand, as you're saying, Andy, who they are, what they bring to the table. The more we input that into them, the better products we're going to have at the end, that people are not experiencing what some of us or our friends may be experiencing today, feeling, less than valuable when they're let go of companies, because more and more in the future, this is going to be the story.
Yes.
We will not have people stand around for 30, 40 years at an organization, not even their own organization. I built organization. I'm like, okay, that's enough of that. Let's exit.
Yeah. And
So
that's
it
what
is,
some of us introverts, we just wanted to get a good job and keep it forever and,
yes,
have that stability, but that is not the world we live in. So
It's not.
you have to establish your own stability, your own okayness with yourself, your skills, and grow and be willing to change. Because honestly, I could go somewhere else doing something completely different, and I'm still going to be a teacher and I'm still going to be a storyteller. Those things don't
Oh,
change.
beautiful. I love that. I love that. Well, I think we went through, Jamie took us off track, but we're really on track because we went through the stories that have shaped us. We've gone through a lot of other stuff. So let's do our last part here, looking ahead. Uh, Once you complete your degree, Andy, what's next?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I just know that I'll always be educating and serving in some capacity. I'm a crazy person, so I'm working on an EDD and a certificate in ministry from Austin Presbyterian
Oh,
Seminary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, honestly, I could see myself doing several different things, but I've always thought I would be a really good chaplain in this latter part of life. That might be the way I go. I don't know. TBA.
wow,
We'll see.
that answered my question. What dreams are still on your horizon?
Yes.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love knowing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about that for you because your passion for people and helping them, that chaplain experience, I imagine is going to be, oh, I don't, you know what? We got to have you back.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Oh,
as a
where
matter
is
of
she now?
fact,
Because no one knew
yeah,
where she would
yeah.
go. Yeah.
My last question is, if we invited you back 5 years from now, what would you hope would have happened between now and then with the chaplain, the EDD, all of that?
I just think I'm going to be very literal, every death, every closing door is just another opening, is another opportunity to do something else or to reinvent ourselves. And no matter what happens, if you're authentically yourself, transparent, you really can't go wrong. Someone will see your value as long as you see your value. And I
That's
think for a lot of
beautiful.
us, that's the challenge.
I love that. The words I've heard you use are honesty, transparency, and being
Yes.
servitude. And I
Yeah.
absolutely love that because those are the three things that have guided me as well. I'm a very much a transparent person, probably more so to my detriment, as you mentioned, although I have learned to be more strategic
Yes.
about that and
Yes.
bringing certain ones into the fold that I know that if I'm fully transparent with, that it will be received as, okay, Jamie's acting a little crazy right now, so that's okay. And we
Yeah.
still love her. But but otherwise, I see that, and it's been actually a pleasure, Andy, to have this opportunity. So next time I see you at some point, then I will go, ah, yes.
I
Well, thank you,
appreciate it.
everyone. As we wrap this session up, we'll have information that where you can get in contact with Andy. We'll also be featuring Andy in our Live magazine, and that will be under this episode was the stories that shape us, and we'll have articles on the stories that shape us from people like Andy and our other guests that'll be on the show with us this quarter. So thank you, Andy. Any final words you have for us?
Oh, no, just thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you both so much, and you're doing amazing things in the world. And I can't wait to see where the podcast goes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Jamie, anything parting words you have for us?
No, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, Andy. So I
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity to get a chance to know a little bit more about Andy.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Thank you
Bye.
for joining us on Two Doctors and a Twist.